Hi, you're listening to Switch On, a podcast to shape the principles of modern leadership. We will be discussing the real experience with successful leaders and learn from them how are they tackling real-life, real-time challenges and build on their learnings for tomorrow's success. In this series, we'll focus on how we are bringing vision to life. Having a purpose, a vision alone, is not enough to be successful. Both require action. Without action, vision is nothing more than a dream. The key to success is to stay focused and be realistic about the current situation, and then learn perfect along the way. But as soon as we identify it, we need to start living it. Welcome to this episode of Switch On. For centuries, we've been living in a world where the status quo of leaders has been significantly more important than the growth of those whom they lead. This kind of top-down, exclusive attitude has had far-reaching consequences in the world, from politics and business to our environment and even within our own homes. Fortunately, demand is revolutionizing the qualities that effective leaders must possess, adding empathy, inclusivity, vulnerability, and even love to effective leadership approaches. Today's top leaders are not only smart and fully adept at what they do, but they're also active participants in the growth of those whom they lead. I'm excited to have Sonja Klopčič with us today. Sonja is a leadership expert, innovator, entrepreneur, and author of several books, including AEIOU of Leadership, 5 Approaches to Leadership for Tomorrow, and The Energy Inside Leadership. Sonja is currently an independent business consultant who specializes in leadership development for conscious organizations. She's a mentor and a coach to leaders, executives, and managers whose mission is to support and lead from love, purpose, and inspiration to create prosperity for all. Welcome, Sonja.
Hi, Helena. I'm thrilled to be here with you today.
Great to have you with us. It's a strong start of the year. It's very volatile and it's intense, but I have a great feeling about 2022 that we can finish stronger than we have entered. And Sonja, you are on an inspired mission. Tell us, what are you passionate about and what drives you forward?
Wow, there are many passions that leverage what I want to create in this world. One passion is, of course, to see what breakthroughs are possible when leaders are opening their hearts and start to lead holistically. This is a great passion of mine, to support such development of leaders. And another passion is to support the development of organizations, because our organizations need to be a place where people really collaborate, where people really contribute, and they are participating to the better, brighter, more prosperous world. Another my passion is connected with my grandchildren. Wow. I have 3 beautiful grandchildren, 2 granddaughters and 1 grandson, and I'm passionate about their development. So if I would summarize my passions, they are all connected with the development and emerging of something new, emerging of how we can co-create when we exchange our battlefields for the playgrounds.
Excellent. We need more agents of change. How we used to do things before is simply not enough anymore. And Sonja, you provide the impetus for change, and you're paving new ways by seeking fairness for all. You're interested in people, their potential, and developing sustainable strategies and business models for creative, successful, and effective work. But you also differentiate between management and leadership practices. Tell us more about how you see the variance between the two and what separates leaders in their ability to use soft skills to drive hard results.
You entered another of my passions, management and leadership. For me, management is connected to the role you get in the organization. This role is connected with your field of responsibility. It is connected with the execution power you have in the organization. It is connected also with the team you have to manage and coordinate and motivate. So management role is more connected with what you are doing. And we all know that the circle for managers are planning, organizing, motivating, controlling, and also acting upon. So this circle you as a manager need to run each day, each hour, each moment. And this circle is also connected with doing, with acting. While for me, leadership is more connected with being. Because for me, to be a leader, you don't need a role in the organization. Because for me, leadership role is something you create for yourself. It comes from within. It is connected with how you are living your values, how you are living your purpose, your personal mission, and with this, how you are willing to co-create with others for the prosperity of all. This is for me connected with a leadership. And of course, the perfect version is if you have a role as a manager in the organization and act as a leader. So you can combine both external power that it is given to you from the organizational role, and you can combine this with your internal power that comes from your heart, from your values, from your personal vision, from your personal mission. And I always add to this inner power needs to be deployed for a service for all.
I guess it's quite a challenge managing both and balancing both in the right moment, because our world is fundamentally changing. And this change requires a fundamentally different response, a whole new rule book, if you want, a whole new way of living, working, winning. And our challenge is really not just to survive. Our challenge is learning how to thrive in constant uncertainty. And it's a sobering moment. And to achieve the much needed levels of awakening and intention, we must be willing to let go of old habits and mindsets and lean into this uncertainty and complexity that surrounds us. Change is necessary and it's happening whether we like it or not. What do you think is the mind shift we need to make?
I'm not just talking about the mind shift. I'm talking also about the heart shift. I'm talking also about the consciousness shift, because we need to upshift in many levels. We have created a lot of problems in our organizations, in our environment, in our society. And if we want to solve these problems, we need a different level of awareness. Already Einstein said that you can't solve the problems you have created with one level of understanding with the same level. And now we are a society, as a humankind, also on this threshold to make these mind shifts, heart shifts, and consciousness shifts, because we need to think also not just where do we want to lead. And I know that we, majority of us, want to lead to a more prosperous, green, sustainable world, flourishing, not just surviving world, as you said. But this is not the only question we must set to ourselves, where to we want to lead. Very important question is also from where we are leading. What is our inner space that we are leading from? And this requires really an upshift or heart shift or consciousness shift, if you want. Otto Scharmer, for example, says that the inner place of a leader is the biggest blind spot of leaders today. For me, it means that we need to raise our awareness. And I say that we need to lead from love. I'm not talking about romantic love. I'm talking about love that supports life, that nurtures life, that invites all the talents to collaborate, to co-create. I'm talking about love that wants to create something that it's good for everyone. The inner space of leaders needs a shift, because if we are blunt, we can say that many of leaders still are leading from the position of power. Power over is their inner space that is driving their decisions. We can see that this is not the right inner space to lead from. That's why this upshift, this mindset change and heart shift change and consciousness shift is very needed.
Yeah, I agree, because we are faced with different situations in different organizations. And for many leaders who are really smart and have lots of talent, they have to let go of the notion that they have to have all the answers. We must become more comfortable telling somebody that we don't know something and that we need them on our team, and that if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have been able to do this. And today we need to lead and learn outside our comfort zone. And a lot of leaders can't do that. They think they've got to have all the answers. They've got to be the ones in control. And why do you think this mind shift change is an urgent issue?
Helena, yes, as you said, there's even not anymore possible for one person to have all the answers. Perhaps for an organization, it was possible 100 years ago when things didn't evolve so quickly. But now we are living in a so-called VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, or tuna, some call it tuna world, turbulent, uncertain, novel, ambiguous. And in this world, of course, it is impossible for one person to grasp everything, what is happening, and to find the solutions. The era of Superman managers and leaders is gone. We are now in the era where each of us needs to act as a leader. And we need to step together, because each of us, some talents, has some gifts, but all of us together can really sense what is needed, and together we can shape our future. And this requires a drastic change in the mindset of a manager, of a person who is responsible at the top of the organization, because it requires a shift that he or she opens a space for fellow co-workers so that they can really contribute, they can really participate, that they can feel that they are included and that they are needed. And they are really needed, because I will repeat, the era of Superman managers is gone. Now, what is really needed is to find the ways how we will step together, how we will co-create. And you have a company that it is called A Drop of Milk. If we get this to a similar combination, each of us is a drop of wisdom that brings the wisdom to the complete picture. And if each of us really brings everything what he or she senses, what are the new insights, then we can, as a collective, co-create a better future for us. In this VUCA or tuna world, this is, I would say, the only way And it is a time to open a space for everyone to shine, because everyone has something to bring to the table. Managers have sometimes this need to control, but control is an illusion. Even more, if we understand our organizations as living systems, as they are, because organizations are composed from people, we are creating organizations. And with living systems, we know that outside control really harms the capacity of a living system to self-organize. That's why it is needed to get off this illusion to control and to open the space for a flow. Flow is now needed in our organizations.
An important notion. And Sonja, you are considered an innovator, an agent of change, and you are exploring new paths because you have realized the old way of working doesn't work anymore, and that organizations are evolving through the 4 stages from working to learning to thinking to conscious, as you mentioned earlier. And during your journey, you have also found out to evolve today's challenges, we need to build conscious organizations. And the leap to conscious leadership involves a comprehensive transformation of our manner of observing, perceiving, feeling, thinking, and acting. And you are measuring this progress in organizations for the last 4 years now. What has surprised you the most in this period?
Yes, I decided to measure where in these evolution cycles are our organizations. Because when Violeta Bulc, the author of the business evolution model, when she presented this model, and this was already 16 years ago, in her book, The Rhythms of Business Evolution, when she presented this model, I was really satisfied that we got some kind of map towards the conscious organizations. And at that time, talking about conscious organizations was really innovative. I saw this model as a blueprint, how we can progress from working over learning to thinking and then conscious organizations. And already at that time, I was a general manager of an IT company, and this IT company was featured in Violeta's book as an example of a company who is already in the transition from learning to thinking environment. Mm-hmm. And 5 years ago, when we started to measure where in this evolution path are Slovenian companies, I was sure that majority of Slovenian companies would be already in the thinking environment. Because, you know, if the company that I managed was already 16 years ago in this thinking environment, I was sure that majority of Slovenian companies will be 10 years later already in this thinking environment. But what surprised me was that the results have shown that the companies were still very much in the position between working and learning environments. Mm-hmm. For me, this was quite a shock. And I remember when I was preparing to present these results at the MQ conference of Managers of Association, and I couldn't write or I couldn't show such results in a linear way. I just put it on a wheel. Mm-hmm. And from that time, I used the model as a Dumo wheel. This was also, of course, communicated with Violeta, and she was also satisfied with this wheel, because the Dumo wheel sets these 5 stages in a wheel, and explains that when we finish with all 4 stages of the evolution, this wheel moves. It moves into a spiral. We are going with more understanding, with more experiences, with new insights, with new wisdom to higher level of this spiral. So in this Dumo wheel, we have now for a 4th year already checked where are these Slovenian companies, and there's a progress every year.
Great.
Every year. And this time I'm satisfied that we now have the majority of the companies that were included in this research, they are already in the thinking environment. So I'm very pleased about it. And I'm sure that also measuring the progress has contributed to this journey. Why this is important? Because we have also researched what is the correlation between the results, the business results of the companies, and the stage of the evolution. And we have seen that the companies that are already in a thinking phase, their results outperform everywhere. They outperform in the value added per employee, they outperform on market share, they outperform on the salaries of the employees and so on. So they are outperformance. That's why thinking environments are important, and they build on innovations, they build on creativity, on collaboration, and of course they don't forget about productivity and quality that are something that we are building on in the working and learning environments. But they are using productivity and quality as a tool, as a supporter for innovative products, services, and solutions.
It's great to hear, basically, that you're using the wheel to build the bridge on one side between organizations development and on the other between the business growth and the business results that companies are actually achieving. But why do we need to take the journey?
We need to take this journey because working organizations are working on the borrowed time. It is just a question when they will need to shift to learning and thinking, or they will die. And because the VUCA tuna world, with all the changes, with all the demands, new demands, requires innovations. And innovations cannot be set by the command. If we want to innovate, we need to create a special environment for creativity, for collaboration, also the environment which has a special attitude towards mistakes, because we cannot innovate without the mistakes. This is
I agree.
the part of innovation journey. And such environments need completely different management style as we can manage, for example, working and learning environments. In working and learning environments, we can manage with focus, action, driving on the results. This is something that can be done in working and learning environments. But if we want to create thinking environments, if we want to support creativity, if we want to leverage the collaboration from different industries, and this collaboration from different industries, this variety of points of view can bring to something new, that innovative idea can emerge. And this requires completely different leadership, I say. This is threshold, very demanding threshold, I still see for a lot of companies and for a lot of managers, how to forget about, let's say, the old way of managing companies with giving instructions, with giving commands, with putting control, to the completely new quality of leadership when you, as a leader, steps behind the scene. You are the supporter. You are not the first at the top, or you are not the first on the column that pulls everyone. No, you are behind the scene. You are the supporter. You are creating the place where people can collaborate, when people can contribute, when people can co-create. And holding the space for this requires a completely different leadership mindset, heart set, and consciousness set. I usually say that masculine energy can run working and learning environments. But if we want to create thinking and conscious environments, we need to complement this masculine energy with feminine energy. I'm not talking about men and women, because men have masculine and feminine energy, and women, we also have masculine and feminine energy. I can lead with masculine energy also very good. Mm-hmm. But I know that to open the space for creativity, I need to lead with feminine energy. I need to support, I need to nurture, I need to include, I need to open myself, and also to open the organization also for intuitive insights. And this is the quality of a feminine energy. Both we need in our organizations.
Winter is coming for businesses as usual, as you say, and we need to disrupt the status quo. We need to grow, and to grow we need to reinvent and look at the matters from different perspectives. But can reinvention happen if there is no interest in this from the top? Can we achieve progress without this sponsorship?
I could be very quick here. No, no is the answer. But let me elaborate more about this. The change in the organization need to happen from within, because every other change is imposed. And if we need to make the change from within, it needs to come from all levels of the organization. So we need to empower people in all levels of the organizations to be the agents of change. But if there's no will of understanding at the top of the organization, then nothing can happen. Because we need at least the quiet approval from the top of the organization to start with the changes. And this minimum prerequisite, a quiet approval, is something that can already support the changes, because the small island of change will then become bigger and bigger, because people are willing to co-create. They are willing to be part of good stories. For the beginning, they need to be invited, but then they are growing their confidence, and from the invitation, then are willing to participate on their own initiative. Such islands of new waves of collaboration and co-creation, where people feel as they are really on their inspired mission, and they feel that they can be themselves and they can contribute to a good story, they can contribute to a transformation. This then invites others. That's why I say at least a quiet approval from the top is needed, and we will soon see how the seeds of change are starting to germinate. When these seeds of change will germinate, and when they will grow and flourish, they will create a new seeds of change. And this is something that I'm really looking forward to seeing it, and I'm enjoying to see how such changes are spreading their wings. And you know what? The tipping point here is around 17 of people in the organization, if 17% of people in the organization are really engaging in a different way, engaging with their not just mind, but their hearts, and willing to participate, willing to co-create a different future, then the complete organization will be transformed.
So can we talk about conscious leadership when a leader becomes radically responsible, self-aware, and focused on building a culture of we rather than the culture of me? Or is that too generalized? And how can leaders actually create value today?
Yes, I'm talking about conscious leadership for leaders that assume their responsibility broader. Mm-hmm. For leaders that are aware that their responsibility is not just at the bottom line of the organization where we are talking about the profit, but their responsibility is much broader. They're responsible for the health of the organization. They're responsible for the intellectual capital of the organization, as well as social capital. They are responsible also for the spiritual capital of the organization. And spiritual capital of the organization is connected with the ability how we can create vision, how we can understand patterns and create different patterns that are supporting life, flourishing, life energy of each individual in the organization, and with this also supporting the flourishing of the complete organization. Such elements of spiritual intelligence are needed for conscious leaders, of course. And for me, conscious leading is connected with leading from love. Because leading from love, as I explained already, is looking for a way that can support each situation, how it can flourish, each person, each talent, how it can really be developed and flourish. Leading with love is something that conscious leaders do, because this also means that they are aware how we are all interlinked and interconnected, how we are all creating a bigger ecosystems. And if we understand the dynamic of the systems, we also know that if I change, the system changes. So it means each change is important. And changes start in our head, with our thoughts. Here also ecology starts. If we start to think about our environment in a way that we are the part of the environment, and that environment have a great influence on us, and we have the influence on the environment, that we are all connected, then our first thoughts about the environment will be different, and then our actions will be different. This is all connected with conscious leading. And I know that we cannot develop conscious organizations unless we all act as conscious leaders. It means that we are aware of each consequence our actions are making, and we are aware of the impact that we are creating, and that we want that our impact will be for the better, not for the worse.
Talking about love is not something we are used to in business, I must admit. And I think we can make a connection with caring as well, caring about the people. And Sonja, you have created a new leadership code. People expect leaders to deliver messages of hope and inspiration. But confidence, when untethered in reality, can make leaders appear out of touch or uninformed. If leaders appear exceedingly confident while ignoring difficult circumstances, they can lose credibility. Instead, leaders should practice bounded optimism, hopefulness, if you want, grounded in reality. How to mix confidence and hope with realism?
I would somehow reframe this question and exchange hope with trust.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you trust first in yourself, in your capability to be able to respond in each situation in a way that benefits the whole community. If you have this trust in yourself, and if you have trust in your fellow co-workers, then you have trust in your organization, and you have trust in the future also. This trust is very important for each of us. And if we are trustworthy, and if we trust others, if we know that each of us will contribute everything what is in his or her power, then we know that we will do what is an optimum for what needs to be done. Trust is one of the base pillars of a new leadership code that I created, because observing organizations, I saw that trust is something that gives the leverage to the growth of the organizations. If people in the organization really trust each other, they can do miracles.
Mm-hmm.
So the trust is one of the 5 dimensions of this new leadership code. I call it AEIOU Leadership Code. Another dimension is leading from love. You said that love is also connected with care, with nurturing, with compassion, with generosity as well. Of course, love is for many people something that they don't expect in a business context. But we are holistic persons. Love is a major part of our lives, and we cannot forget about love in a business context, because we forgot about love. That's why we created climate crisis. Because if we would lead from love for our ancestors, not for our grandchildren, and for the next generations to come, then I'm sure we wouldn't take the decisions that would hurt our environments. Also for me, it was a very tough moment before I first spoke about love in a business context. And it was in a workshop with a team of senior leaders, mostly men. And when I started to talk about love, I was also curious what will be the reaction. And you know what?
Tell me.
They accept it very normally.
Wow.
As we accept every truth once we are faced with. So it was, oh yes, why we didn't even think about it.
Yeah, it makes sense, right?
It makes sense. And I am on a mission to bring love in our business environments, because we need to remember also why we are doing business. And this is the 3rd dimension of this new leadership code. We are doing business to take care for our home and for our family.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look at this from a broader perspective, the only home humankind have is our planet Earth. And our biggest family is humankind. So if we want to take care for our home and our family, we need to take care for everything. And oikos, the Greek word for taking care for your home and family, is the root of both economy and ecology. And we tend to overlook this.
Yeah, they need to go hand in hand.
Yes, they are hand to hand. We need to remember this. That's why my leadership code is building on the timeless wisdom of our ancestors. Oikos, the roots of Oikos tell us that economy and ecology are going hand in hand, that our responsibility is to create value for all stakeholders, including the planet. And leaders nowadays can create value with innovations, and we need a lot of innovations to cope with the climate change. And leaders nowadays can create a value with also intuition, to tap into this field of timeless wisdom and create new insights that bring to new solutions that are more wise and that are serving the need of life.
It's on us to do things.
It's on us.
Yeah, it's on us to do things differently and to change for the better. And there's really a lot of talk about the great resignation, and we all need the light at the end of the tunnel, if I can put it like that. But more importantly, we are also not robots. We need to become human again. I think that there is really no more B2B or B2C as we talk in business, but we are moving toward age to age, human to human. So what should leaders do differently in periods of uncertainty? What should we stop doing to reduce the pressure we are all feeling?
I would say that leaders need to connect with their personal mission. This is, for me, the most important thing, to understand what are your gifts, what are your talents that can serve your organization, and this is connected with your personal mission. The same goes also with the organization. Organizations need to remember what they are created for. What is the organizational mission? What is the organizational purpose? And working accordingly. And this is completely different from, for example, how to create competitive advantage. If we are focusing on how to be better than our competitors, this will not really support us in how we need to deliver what we are called to. So in these times of uncertainty, the need of organizations is again to connect with their purpose, with their mission, how they can serve their customers and other stakeholders for the best. This leads us to the fourth dimension of this new leadership code, living according to your personal mission. And this I have connected with the Japanese concept of ikigai.
Mm-hmm.
Ikigai means living with a mission, meaningful life, and I add to this also a meaningful work. So leaders need to understand their personal mission and the mission of their organization and create solutions that will support their mission.
In my experience, when you set a very aggressive goal, it forces you out of your comfort zone. You can't do things the way you've always done them and achieve different results. And moving toward conscious organizations, how do we move from where we are to taking ownership and becoming a leader of the future?
Setting ambitious goals is very important, especially now when we need to face the climate changes. Ambition goals in a way how, for example, we will innovate solutions that will absorb these CO2 emissions. Setting such ambitious goals is something that it's very needed now. And when you set such goals, then your intention is connected with these goals, and you start to see possibilities also in the places where you haven't seen them before. So that's why setting the ambitious goals is important, because it also unites people in reaching these goals. To reach these goals, it's also important to know how interdependent and interlinked we are. So in reaching the goals, it is good to support allyships, to connect with people from different industries that can support you in reaching these ambitious goals. And this is connected also with ecosystemic thinking, with the fifth dimension of this new leadership code, that it is connected with a Mayan word, adept. Adept means a path that connects us all, a path that connects all the worlds, a path that connects our ancestors and our successors. And when we are setting ourselves ambitious goals, it is good that we always think also on generations that will come, to sustain a decent living conditions for them in this planet, the only home we have. In reaching such ambitious goals, we need more collaboration, because sustainability cannot be achieved without collaboration, and we need more ambitions.
So going forward, what would you say are the three big trends, the challenges that we need to pay attention to?
We were already talking about climate change. This is for me the first priority, and we need to find the ways how we will really get to first to this our goal 55% of lowering our CO2 emissions. Then the other trend is also aging. Mm-hmm. We need to keep in mind how our population, at least in our part of the world, is aging, and we need solutions also for this trend. And the third, I would say, is connected with the new technology, with artificial intelligence, with biotechnology, and so on. And here I see what you say, the need of human to human, that we will not rely on the technology, but that the technology will really be a tool, not a driver for us. Mm-hmm. Here, we as humans need to be in the heart of all development, and this is again connected with the mission and purpose, because the technology cannot have a mission. The technology cannot have an inspired mission that we humans have. And this is something that I would like to stress. We need to keep this high human touch. High tech, yes, and high human touch. Both we need also for the future.
Very important message. And I agree. Every crisis actually makes us think. I think every crisis is a positive moment to help us reflect, to think about what is working and what is not working, because every crisis opens the door to progress. And every moment offers a short opening when the universe gives us an opportunity to grab that chance. The mindset shift is such a big opportunity, but also a big problem. It seems the necessary mindset shift is the cornerstone of everything. It's time we ask ourselves what needs to change so we can move forward. And it's often the small steps and simple tweaks that win the game. So let's not waste a good crisis. Thank you, Sonja, for helping us to switch on our inner game of leadership and clarifying what efforts we need to undertake to become better leaders, how to live from the inside out, It was a pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Thank you, Helena. And to end with the crisis, with the bright side of the crisis, because crisis in one way is connected with the spiritual intelligence, and the sign of a spiritual intelligence is also how we can use the crisis to create something new. And on the other side, the crisis is here to make our transformation possible and easier, because in the crisis, systems are more inclined to change.
Fully agree. Crisis as an opportunity to grow and further develop. A very important notion. Thank you very much, Sonja. It was great to have you with us and hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Drop of Milk, an impact-driven business consultancy and expert on customer-focused digital transformation. You can learn more at dropofmilk.com.